Mic check, mic check. All praises to the Creator. Thank you, Holy Father, for another one. Please continue to bless and protect us. Destroy your enemies and set us to us, etc. Heavenly Father. Let them be the sacrifice that set us to us, etc. Heavenly Father. We aim to rebuke the devil until there's no more devil left. In the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. What's good? What's good? What's good with the people? So we're talking about the Queen of Ancient American Amazons. War against the Black Matriarch, examined with pictures. So this came up about because of me learning something new. And I learned that the words, the verbatim words from that 1500 writing from a Spaniard was that there was a fabled legend of a island full of Black women. Now, we know how racist white men are and how they lust after Black women, and how the Black woman and child has been under an attack for thousands of years by these others. And everything from sex, everything from pedophilia, everything from cannibalism, you name it, torture, everything the so-called Black man could have went through some racist attack times 100 with some extra shit. So I heard about the Queen Khalifa story, and I never heard that it was sold and told as an island of Black women in particular. And so that kind of rearranged the way I thought. And so for the record, we're going to go in on this subject matter, and it brought up a lot of interesting topics that I had pictures for. So let's go ahead and see what the results are, shall we? Let's get started. So if you know anything, you know that we could trace dark-skinned people at the very beginnings of every single nation, country that matters in the old world civilization lineup, right? From the Americas all the way to China, Japan, even, right? We have traces, evidence, artwork, artifacts that show that not only was there a presence of dark-skinned people, but they also held the rank of ruler. And so we can also find that through phonetics. When you trace the word Inca to the Inga, the word Inca from the Incan people of Americas to the Inga for the African peoples that evolved into Negus Nagas, which is king and queen, that evolved into Nagas. All right. And so the rulers for the Sumerians is Kinnigar. You can't make this shit up. It's the same. And so you'll find the word that ended up being a byword, as it say in scripture, how the people will be made into a byword, the N-word, originated as meaning divine celestial ruler. Isn't that interesting? From the very first of the Americas and the very first of the South African Zulu people, the Bantu tribes and all that, the Inga. So anyways, let's get into it. And so some type of war had taken place, and I believe I had found traces of the jerseys and the colors that these teams were playing for. And when it comes to the feathers in the head, you see that there is a black-tipped white feather and a white-tipped black feather worn by two different types of people of two different types of nations and whatever have you. So the one on the right, she is Polynesian. That possibly is Hawaiian or somewhere around in those Pacific Island cultures. And the one on the left is a so-called Native American from anywhere from Alaska down to New Mexico. Right? And so you see how they got two feathers in their hair, which is similar, but they got two different feathers. And so I believe that the evidence is showing that these are opposition to Aboriginal Americans. These are indeed so descendants of soldiers that was put upon the people one way or another and have occupied the terrain, and that's how they were known as Native American Indians, which would be tent-dwelling nomadics, which could be considered vagabond, considering the fact that you got places with buildings in which people have long-term stays. And so when we look at these patterns that they have, even though these women don't have feathers in their head, I still find this pattern of white dots or resembling of white dots on a black background, which is in complete opposite of, sorry, so it's a work in progress. I want to make sure that the words match the pictures. All right. And so don't worry, I got it. We good. So the pattern of these white dots on the black background is telling me, right, that these people are on the opposite team as this fellow here with the black dots on the white background. You see how he is an Aboriginal American because this is a Mayan art. So that means he's American, and he's got the big body, big legs, big stomach, big body, big bones. That's a trait we see in Aborigines of Australia to this day. And so we also see that he's dark-skinned. And we also know that dark-skinned darkness is where all light came from, all colors. So we could get it like that. We could talk about it like that. Like, he represents an older genetic because he's dark-skinned. Now, some people might think that's a cheap shot. Don't worry, we don't need it. We could just go with the fact that technically ain't nobody in this picture white, but this is an ancient American artwork that's on the same land that people claim to be from when they say they Native Americans. And so here go a group of Native Americans, so to speak. Oh my gosh. Here go a group of Native Americans, so to speak, right? And I'm sorry, I got a break. Let's see how far. Let's just go to it online, and then we don't have to worry about it. The Walls of Montana mystery. And we'll just get this real quick, and it'll represent for all of the concepts. That's not even real. Here we go. All right. No, I was looking at a picture that I said that's not real to a picture I saw. Like, that's crazy how they got AI in this mug. So, bomb, we good. We done. So these people don't got no stories of what this stuff is. Nothing at all. No story. They don't got no story. You know how they say in the Native American Indians, you talking all these stories? They don't got no stories about them buildings. Yet when you look at the Urbano Monte map, which should be on here somewhere. Oh my goodness. And I closed out the other ones. Yeah, the Urbano Monte map definitely would go there. Let's go back to maps. Damn. No, let's go see what the internet got. Urbano Monte or Urbano Monte map America. Boom, boom, boom. Perfect, perfect. That's exactly what I want. So check it. So the Urbano Monte map came out less than 100 years after Columbus, and it shows features that it would have took more than 100 years to make. And I'm talking about thousands of cities on this map, probably. Thousands of cities, probably thousands. I don't know. It could be hundreds and hundreds. But the point, all right, the point is that these people, and I'm gonna have to zoom in, right? These people do not have stories to match this map for some reason. Just don't got it. They don't remember it. All these red dots, they done crossed these cities out. I don't know what they did. It looked like they crossed them out. It looked like they put a red dot or red line through the cities, and that's warfare. You know, they're against the surface. These people, those people that's from the hell. And so that's why I think that's why they don't got no stories, because they opposition. That's why they on their ass, they outside. They ain't got no buildings. But this map show hundreds of buildings or a good number of buildings throughout the Americas. Like, this is the United States, and California is not an island, but there is an island over here, but they saying this Japan though. That's different. But so they got a place over here in the Northeast called what the Japanese call paradise. And so I could take the information I found on here and link it up to information I heard from a Japanese secret society level source. So what's the answer for these? They don't got no memory of that. So when we look at ancient artwork, we see that, okay, that here it is where these people have a status that's underneath what we would consider dark-skinned people. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, here it is, Africa and America both showing these light-skinned, dark-haired people as being subordinates. Subordinates, my bad. Subordinate, no, I'm sorry, subordinate. In submission, you know what I'm saying? So that's how all types of people must have been made. And so it's like the people done put a lot of effort to create, like, an ultimate robot would be the equivalent of them creating, like, you know what I mean, what we'll call other nations and shit today, and other races and things. It's only one human race, and that's of God. And so that's for all people. Like, there's good and there's bad, and the evil isn't rewarded for nothing that they've done. And deity is deferred to. God bless and protect us. Thank you, Heavenly Father. But yeah, look, that's the same thing we see on this thing right here. You see the colorful bottom, the colorful fringes, and let's zoom in on this because it deserves a zoom. Like, it's a great example. It's a great example. Look at that. There's no mistake here. They'll like, people like to look away. That's why these guys that's doing content, they sound so childish. right? They sound so childish in the voice. They struggling to make talking about what their people is doing interesting. And so they got this, they got the top of the line equipment to make it look like they got good editing skills. When it's like what is, you know what I mean? Like they got all this, like it's a real TV show and shit, but they talking about what? The same thing some other news people is talking about. So it's like they're in an infancy state. They're in a baby state. Like they ain't nobody smart amongst them. All everybody that side with Trump and pedophiles and criminals, period. It's just they treated the same equal justice about them. Like they perish with them. You know what I'm saying? And I rebuke the doubt. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't care who it is. But here goes some truths that expose the lies. It shed light on the lies with the truth about what is considered dark. And I think it's positive. Even if it's like when we come up with pictures like this is a lineup I created because I had happened to see it. Like, what in the world? Because I knew one picture, I knew that when I saw it in the Chinese, I was like, oh my goodness, what does this really mean? What does it really mean then, after all? Because if this is an ancient or old artwork that's relatively old, it looked like it's watercolors. It looked like it's been done with watercolors, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? But here it is, Chinese got one. And not only that, but the Chinese got the guy with the background of white with the black stripes or the black lines. And so what's that saying? That's saying that he's the king or he's royalty. He's of a ruler type level. And he's the one behind this robot, Aminatron projection, holographic projection. What do you call it? Virtual reality. You know what I mean? Like, yo, I'm not going to show up in this. I'm going to show up in that. Let me get in my suit. Let me get the suit on. And then that way they're protected physically because they're not there physically. They can just interact with the 3D environment while controlling this medium. That's why they can copy so well and things, right? That's why they got like this concept of they could just be on their own making shit up like they don't need nobody else. And so you'll never think that they came from the science, or it's difficult to think that they came from the science of original man. Because if you leave it up for them to say where they at or where they from and what they is, they either don't know or there was some shit that somebody told them. They don't got no damn effing clue, right? And so they're riding on the wave of don't needing not to care, like not having to care about who they are. And so they have like that's a level that not everybody can relates to, like a lot of people, some people feel like it's necessary, it's paramount to know and to represent for what you or who you are and things like that, right? Yeah, your ancestors watching, God watching. And so if you don't care you related to God in any way, then God ain't going to care about such and such. So I just, I'm thankful that I could see it for myself as far as these artifacts and these pictures go, because this is how I understand it. Sometimes not even knowing what's next, but it's something that we could at least say is fishy. It's some real. It's like, all right, black people was racist against, but they got this brother out here with a whole sword. Like, that's wild to me. So really what this is families, the richest of the rich families, the Aboriginal Americans are still, their families are still and represent those type of families that can shapeshift into having different races involved. But that's something that's natural. We're talking about a unnatural, or maybe it's a natural solution to whatever this is with this slideshow. But it's like, look, we see dark-skinned people with royalty and with rare garments. And so that means that these type of evidences have been mainly destroyed. And what we see is a rare few that have remained or have, it wasn't destroyed, say during a book burning or a library burning or some type of lynch mob, some type of attack on the city, like let's say Tuskegee, right? And so that's their nature. We know that they have a pattern for it. That's what they always doing. And so they just what they continue on doing. Because when they in their secret society, when they reach all the top of their people, they realize that they don't never want to see, or they come to the conclusion they don't never want to see black people in power again. And so here it is where it's proof that people of color was in power and that it's a conspiracy on history, which is human history, ancient human earth history, black history. It's fair to say it's just black history. Let's call it black history. Surface hit the world history. Yeah, to call it world history. And this is what you get. You get evidence of black people with crowns, with castles, with, everything that people of wealth in ancient time would have had, good clothes, etc. Slag, all that, slaves, And then so this started to fly, which is the first flag of Haiti. And so this is the first flag of Haiti, and it's really hard to find this, but you can find it if you look. This is the first flag of Haiti, and what it shows you is a big nose Aboriginal American head. Okay. And so the big nose is a trait that come from ancient reptilian bloodlines. All right. And so I did shut that one down, but we can keep on going. So really what this is what I'm saying here is that here go another ultra rare photo. And I found this photo on the left only because I was researching pictures for the jester and the bard and the what they call them, the jester clown. You know what I mean? Like, all the different little categories of the origin of the jester, because I was doing this on about assassins. And so the concept of assassin from the hashish, where the word assassin come from, is that they get in close through a seemingly organic method and work their way up to the top to get close to the person that they would later either assassinate, hold hostage, or threaten with ultimatum or send messages and saying, like, you could be like letting the people know that they could be touched, and therefore they was extorted and they was bribed and blackmailed and all that other stuff. And so that was the real way that the people that controlled things ran the whole world. And so the Japanese is known for it now, but we could assume that that's how it always was. So even before then, the version of the Japanese that we know it now, how they do it, concepts of the geisha being a spy and an assassin, etc., that type of shit, where they blending in the lady boys and shit. And so then they had the whole concept of cross-dressing and shit. And so think about how that affected the economies when that shit had first started, like, being popularized some way or another, or you know what I mean? Diseases, like we got ancient Mayan joints where they got herpes, man. And so this picture on the left is showing that the jester, the clown, is mocking a black admiral. And so in order for a person to be an admiral or have that type of hat, they would have to be the captain, the controller of a ship or legion of ships, like the, commander. And so to be a commander of a ship, meaning that you somewhere on the water and you're not a slave. And so where's the stories of black captains? There ain't none. So wait a minute. You telling me that black people is not only the oldest people, but they the ones that had civilization and writing ability and reading and simple. I had all that stuff, clothes, cleanliness, like all types of levels of chemical alchemy. You know what I mean? Alchem. That's Egyptian, man. So you telling me, but don't when it came to boats though, nah. With thousands of rivers in Africa, right? The source of all this intelligence, then ain't no boats. Ain't no boats. That's crazy. That's wild. So it's like who had the first boats and then who had boats, right? And then if you build up your boats, then you might be able to go to a boat war. And if who running boat war, when we learn things in school, they tell us that Christopher Columbus and them, they just got the boats. Europeans had just came up with the shit not too long ago. It was like a cool invention and shit. So here is a picture of what they call a Moor's head, right? And the Moor's head listen, man. This looked just like this. This is Haiti's flag. The first flag of Haiti was this one. But this is a Moor's head. And he got the earring in his ear, and that's some pirate shit. See the Morgan Freeman clip when he tells you about what an earring in the ear means. You see Michael Jordan got it. And so that right there can't mean anything good. But I do remember that back in the day when I was still coming up out of the spell, and you know what I mean, it was still some spellage because it was new to me. I was told that, look, this is proof that there was black royalty because they go the coat of arms with the heads. That's black people's shit. But it never was taught that that's decapitated heads. I'm the only one that says that that's decapitated head that I know of. But you got brothers like Asir the Duke of Tears might have said something like that. I don't know, but he's probably the only person that's smart enough that would have said something like that, because I think I'm right about this. That's decapitated heads. And when I saw that picture, that's not even up here. Let's go ahead to it. Let's go ahead to it now. Let's go to it now. Decapitated heads. That's war. That's negative as heck. That's negative. So here it is. I seen this picture, right? And I was like, wait a minute. I was like, wait, oh man. It's his foreheads, they black, brown, copper, bronzed out, right? And they're about to be put on this red cross. And so, regardless of any, it's just so plain. Like that means, let's go ahead and put it on the board. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely plain, man. Let's go ahead and put it on the board. Oh man, we're going to do this ourselves. That's cool. That's negative as hell. Look, that's negatives, man. That's crazy. So what? What's going to talk me down from this? What's to talk? Nothing. Nothing. And guess what? It's showing the two different other marks or signs of original man monarchy. And I'm saying this is the monarchy at this time, obviously. This the male, this is the men. This is what I'm saying. The royalty of that concepts, you see, the four means the whole area of the board, right? All black people, man. You know what I'm saying? Hey, look, this what do you call it? Let's zoom in. That headband. That headband, this shit right here, yeah, yo. That headband mean here, Israelite. Watch how I prove it. The headband, prove he Israelite. Watch how I prove it. So where's the picture at with there it is. Okay, so we're going back to the see, they calling them Moors. They calling them Moors. They saying this is this is the wild men and the Moors. And it's like, I got something for that, man. Hold on. The wild men and the Moors, but when they had came to America, that's what they had called Americans, was Moors. So that means that what you're seeing here is I'm saying it's American. Like they depicting America. Hold on. Oh damn, I ain't put the whole thing there. My bad. Shit. This picture. So I'm saying they is talking about America in this picture, man, because of the way that they got their clothes. And I don't know, it's just they say it's found in Germany, but I think it talks about the whole world. It talks about the whole world because remember, it's four corners. It's four corners, and when they talk about that cross, that should be four corners of the earth and all that. So yeah, yo, and them headbands. See them white headbands? Yeah, that should go back to Australians. Let's go back a long time. So yeah, I got some on the headbands later on in this build. So ancient American queen of the island of black women. Like I said, man, I'm learning that they said that the author said it was a Spaniard that said it was an island of black women. And I just think that's so peculiar because at them times there's definitely hella racism and things like that. So what would it mean for a white man, a racist white bastard, to speak on an island of black women, right? And so, it must be something more to the story. And so here go three different depictions of women of color from different times on the timeline. On the left, you have a nice, very nice reptilian. I'm gonna just say on the left, you got Africa. In the middle is the Mediterranean, Greece. And on the right is as European somewhere. European. So this right here is a reptilian, but people don't really see it because they don't know what to look for. But you can see that if you analyze the nose and the eyes, it's definitely of the dragon family. And so Queen Khalifa is the white man talking about that, right? They're talking about a dragon queen because the Hawaiian goddess is a shape-shifting queen that could, turn into a reptile, so they said, a big lizard, or turn into a woman, like, you know what I mean, had shape-shifting abilities. And that's in Hawaii. And so Queen Khalifa is supposed to be the whole place of what they call California today, which supposedly used to be an island. And so they're saying that the whole land of California is named after this queen called Khalifa. And so I think California has something to do with fornication and Cali, right? Whatever fornia mean. I don't know. I just think that phonetically that's what it sounds like. But there's other maps, and the computer, the AI said there's thousands of maps that show California as an island, right? And so that's one part of this story that is coincided with other evidences. They say it's a story, but they say Lord of the Rings is just fictional too, right? And so in this is like one of the rarest, maybe of three or so Queen Khalifa images, all really modern, but they're showing a you know, dark-skinned woman with dreads, you know what I'm saying? And all these wings, which is pretty fire. That's really fire. I have a wing, 6 wings or something. I don't know. But you know what I mean? It's Queen Khalifa. You got like this picture and another one. She also got dreads in this one. So that's a pattern in Queen Khalifa imagery, even though they're trying to say that she's just a story, right? So here it is where Wonder Woman's or identical sister that was black looked just like Queen Khalifa. And she's saying, you can call me Wonder Woman, right? And so she basically is doing the same shit as if the white people had said the same shit to the black people, and it's like a pendulum swinging, and they both switch turns, running shit or saying something or another, right? So it's maybe they ain't never had a chance, right? Or something to that effect. I don't know how it go, but whatever it is, it's like here it is. They're showing imagery consistent with Khalifa, right? And so when it comes to Amazon, exists Amazons, and I'm not going to show a picture of it, but but besides these two examples of Amazons amongst people, the ancient uh, Europeans on the other side of the Mediterranean, and then the even current Dahomey people on the other side of the Mediterranean. So that's both sides of the Mediterranean, you know. And then you got a lot of evidence out there supporting that there was there indeed is other examples of Amazonian warrior women, right? Okay, and so that goes with the Wonder Woman story, right? That goes with the Wonder Woman story, and that goes with this American story, right? Now this is just but Queen Khalifa, right? If it go with Wonder Woman, then that mean it go with Queen Khalifa if they using Wonder Woman to show Queen Khalifa, right? So in Wonder Woman, then they talking about Queen Khalifa and the Amazons of what this Spaniard said in the 1500s of all black women. So if you see evidence like this in America, you could pretty much say that whoever was ruling these so-called Trojans, like they say in the movies, it was some black American, which would be world history technically. And there should be no reason why people don't understand it the proper way. And so check it out. These symbols that you see in America, you see it also in Europe, right? because that's what you really talking about. You're talking about a person. This dragon represent the person, the ruler, right? And that's represent a citizen. See that? That's the bird picking the serpent or the worm, and that is the Mexican flag, right? And then in all the other countries in the world, you see the person with the wing, with the bird, the eagle, as they symbol. They go, then they try to say it go back to Sumerians. And so, yeah, man, this is consistent. This is they might try to say that, well, the stuff in the Maya is not, it's not ancient. It's not ancient. But they destroyed ancient stuff. And they look at this stuff that's remnant and saying, oh, it's not ancient, but these was copies of the ancient stuff. This was breaking down what the ancient stuff was saying. That's why the symbols on it is those same ones used by your so-called Europeans. The so-called Europeans, as we know them today, assumed those positions and continued on using the same insignias. You know what I'm saying? So look, yeah, watch this. You see that? And so maybe, listen, I don't know. No, no, no. Listen, let's not do no maybes. Let's just say, do you see that? Now let's go back to that. Do you see that? You see how they're using it in Europe? In Europe, it's the blue dragon, the blue, whatever that is, the blue dragon with the gold crown. You see, that's blue and gold, right? And so it go back to America where, because the rulers was what? The rulers was whole you know, they was doing that to them, son. It was like, really doing that to them. And that's how they was depicted. Hold up. Uh what am I looking for? This one. Yep. See that? Look at me, bro. Look at all them skulls, buddy. Got the evil Aboriginal, man. You know, those are fallen angel type. You know what I'm saying? Because they practicing something from a long time ago. They like on that. They ride that momentum of like old evil actions, and in our compliance or complicity to perpetuating evil actions as being neutralized with it's all the same, you know, thinking like one of these people in the middle, right? That will bring some shit up and say it don't matter what you do. There's no consequence except for, you know, blah blah blah, trying to rationalize pedophilia and murder, shit like that. And so this is it's just a sign of lawlessness or when wickedness is in control. You know, you know what I'm saying? And it's very common. It's common. It's not it's a commonplace. Satan is in most of the world. You know what I mean? Messed up. Most people is messed up by the world. And so the back in the days was definitely you know, it was some dark shit going on. And so when people talk about not African Americans, but black people, quote unquote, they would use this imagery, you know what I'm saying? They would use that imagery because that's what they remember. That's how they remember things. It's how they know you. You know what I mean? Like, they remember it. They talking about the evil black aboriginals that used to tear their dumb ass up. I don't know. That could be what they was thinking. Here go another example of aboriginal that got his foot on these pale white redheads. You see that? Straight saying, look, man, we rule over these things. You know what I'm saying? And look, they're saying money is the root of all evil. That's supposed to be mammon. Right. And so if you look at it, that is a heavy set, light skinned, he kind of like a fat LL Cool J, and that's pretty much a what do you call it? A type of Aboriginal American where they all got, you know what I mean? They got the bad body and they, you know what I mean? They're not dark skinned, but they rich. They come from years of controlled breeding. You know what I mean? So like you can still see them. They might not be pitch black like the first peoples, but they got this brown boiled peanut type look. Some of them, not all of them, not all of them. Some of them look like black Jews. You know what I'm saying? Like Beyonce father, right? He's one of them. They tall. They're like Nephilims. Who you think is giving birth to these giants? You know what I mean? It do be sometimes where they be like, "Oh, you tall, you should go play for the NBA," and they do. But a lot of times, some of them regular people is giants, man. They never be a star and shit. They just out there. They giants, like they just giants. You know what I mean? So, anyways, what you see on the left is Mayan. What you see in the middle is Hindu India. And then what you see on the right is Peru or Central America. I think that's Peru, but so look, they go to Mayans and they go to dang on what you call them, the Chinese. And so who you think? Come on, man. We gotta do it like this. We read left from left to right, most sides. Like the first, then it's come after that. It's that pretty shit. You see that first shit be rugged. It'd be raw. It'd be like, look at this. It's like this is first time. Then later on, it's like some pretty, like it's made of wood. It's painted. It's pretty. It's new. Like they still doing it today. But they not doing it like this in America. Why is that? Because they what? There's a whole nother people, man. This shit is scary, man. Like this shit is scary, dog. Like like the type of people that was a lot around. Like humans naturally would stay away from them. They wouldn't get no camera time. Like they would have to catch people and train them up. It'd be like, it'd be a few people that'd be brave enough to even be around them. And so this is Tibetan, and that's American right there. So what? And so back to the Tibetans with the rainbow pants. Then I show them. It must have been on a whole nother. There it is. See, that's Tibetan. That's American, right? Goofy. What's that? There's some shit that's over here that is like it's practice over there, man. I don't know. There's some dark shit going. It was some dark shit going on. No pun intended, man. It's where the hell am I in this? Because I don't remember seeing that picture. Did I pass this picture already? That's tough right there. That's tough right there. All right. So, anyways, yeah. So look, they talking about they're against the black man across the world. Let's go ahead and go to uh let's get that cross symbol. Go to star topics, go to symbols, go to cross. And what we want to show is that the cross also mean the whole world. All right. And so we also gonna throw this shit down too, man. Let that shit sizzle and crackle. All right. And so what we looking for? We're looking for something that showed the whole earth. The cross is the whole earth. And so let's do that. Uh, let's do that. Shield up. Let's do that. Never mind. Yeah, that it is. Wow. So however they make that up. So That's pretty simple, isn't it? Right. So the concept of a cross. Now check it out. The concept of the cross. Uh, if it start with the swastika, then what the swastika meant, right? The swastika meant the center of the world. There we go. And that's how we do and that's how that's done, right? Now let's start. Let's start from the top tizzy. Let's start from the top tizzy, man. Yeah, you already know that this represent four corners of the world. This represent four corners of the world. This help you. This deduction. Here it is. Pattern recognition alert. You know what I'm saying? One of these pictures from Hawaii tell you that Shorty is a royal, what she got on. So that means they taking pictures of royal and they be having that on. And so I know this meatball ain't no royal and no bear claws. Come on, man. You outside with the pearls. That's fishy, man. So the people be putting up TPs, them little sex huts, man. Prostitution on the road again. I'm telling you, son, like real shit. They into drugs, prostitution, all that shit, weapons. You know what I'm saying? And so they on a whole nother level that seem to be beneath the royal level. So they not royals, right? These people is. You see how they saying they getting lighter. Look, man, they getting lighter, son. They getting a little copper color. Damn. Keep fucking with them foreigners. And so look, they say that these people exist, and they was here, if you ask them, for more than 100,000 years, according to the Hopi, right? And so the whole time, here go a map less than 100 years after Columbus showing that, yeah, they had teepees on the map, but they also had castle buildings and cities that was all throughout here, and they have a mysterious red ink through them as if they might have been taken out, wiped off the map, attacked perhaps. And so you got hella boats, and the boats is all around the world in this map, man. You got big old buildings and shit, big old buildings less than 100 years after Columbus. And so check it. You wouldn't be able to build that many settlements and have all this shit mapped. You wouldn't even be able to map this shit out in 100 years. And none of them Native Americans got an answer for no structures that's on the earth. I mean, in the United States. So that means they lying. When we look at the ancient artifacts, the artwork tell us that these people are subordinate. I mean, they subordinate. Is I saying the same shit when I say subordinate? If I say subordinate, that's just saying the B with more emphasis, right? Subordinate. Computer. Is it subordinate or subordinate or both?
Are you asking about the word subordinate itself or something specific it's used to describe?
Nah, never mind. Thank you, though. Talk to you later. Bye bye.
Catch you later, red squid.
So, straight up subordinates. We see that. We see that. Subordinates. They crazy now. They look like they ain't got no package now. They like they ain't got no guidance now. So they look like they was set straight following after the world. Now, people that turn corrupt has got some, they like leaning and parasiting on trying to off something because they is turned. Whereas people that's all, never mind. It is just ancient shit, right? And so who are these people? I had said it best then. We're gonna go through it. Bomb. The cross. The cross also the swastika. What the swastika mean? The swastika mean the center of the world, the North Pole, where the hole at and all that, where the cave at. And so the Native Americans say that the Spider Woman led them out to the sunlight and they broke off into all the directions and walked around. You know what I'm saying? Around the world, leaving their insignias on rock walls. And so when they do this, right, they saying that all around the world, they're going to be chopping off the head of black people, Israelite monarchs, royals, and they was going, you know what I mean? That was going to be their effort. They're going to do that shit, even if some is reluctant, some is mulatto, right? You see in this picture, the Esau with the red beard and thing, they all is betraying the original, right? And that's why that's how you got what we're looking at today when we see heads of state from around the world. You know what I mean? So this is the people that's doing it. The same people that we can see, I traced them down. The same wild men is also wearing suits. They got the red hair, beard. They got the red cross. And so that black dragon right there that you see in his little coat of armor on his shield, that black dragon represent black people. And so check out his black hat. That's some pilgrim shit, right? And so if you look at these headbands, right, I was telling y'all already that shit right there is seen on these people's head, and this cross, these cross on the crown, this is like a Christian, you know, maybe Christian might be a fake word, but this is like a Christian Israelite type setup going on here. And so the way they calling people Moors and having it associated with Islam is a part of the corruption and the deception and the way that they tell this story about Queen Khalifa is that she go out there fighting against some Muslims or with some Muslims. I forgot how it went. She went out there fighting and some Muslims was involved. She was defeated and turned into a Christian is how the story went, right? So I don't know, but shield up, deity is referred to. Here go examples. I had covered this already. So Queen Khalifa says she on an island. Damn, I went over this already though. There's like thousands of joints. So here go proof that the Americans got a connection, like an older connection to these imageries that depict power. And so Mammon, he got these skulls on the back of his chair. And he got these skulls in the back here. So, and then you already know Kalima got a bunch of heads and shit around her neck. And so we could just connect that old method of just, you know what I'm saying, exercise and divine sovereign right come from these people that would be associated with the black dragon families of the Anunnaki, or maybe even a Nephilim. But this definitely highly interesting, definitely connection. There's other connections too to be made with so-called Asia, whether it's Tibet or wherever, and America, you see. You know what I mean? I don't favor nothing that deal with this. A lot of this is grim stuff, man. You know, dark stuff, man. It's like, it's not cool, right? The concepts of the black Jew is like satanic, just like anybody else would be if they was on that you know, satanic Jew concept, right? That shit crazy. So here it is where the Queen Khalifa is depicted as a giant reptilian. All right. The matriarchy rulership is depicted as a fat reptilian or a big reptilian. So when we asked uh, the AI, it told us that Hawaii's goddess could turn into a large lizard. All right. And so that's what you see in here. Like you seeing that, you know what I mean? You seeing the island that they call California, and you seeing an Egyptian depiction of a mutant. Yeah, that shit don't kind of got no connection to it. It's a fat reptilian, but it looked like a damn hip. Is that a reptile? It looked like it's a mix of shit. So you can't even tell it's a woman. It got little titties. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a breast. Yeah, there's some titties on it. But it's like, look, man, this represent the alligator standing up. So we'll get back to that. So they go the Mayan on the top left and the Japanese flag. So you see, that's how you got the Japanese flag. It represent the sun god, the blood sun, right? And so in Japan, konnichiwa is hello. And in the Mayas, right, konnichiwa is the sun god, right? He got the strength like the rising sun, portrayed as a young man with the strength like the rising sun. Konnichiwa is also associated with Jaguar, which was the most powerful dweller of the forest. And so, strength like the rising sun, that's like Osiris and shit, the obelisk and all of that. Like, yeah, the rising sun, them concepts are similar. And so here it is where when it come to imagery, right? Like they know it's possible that they know that this is the land of the rising sun, the original, the real one. Or I don't know. I've seen it done even more blatantly with the swamp thing. So they might really know, right? But here you see Florida State, like why Florida State did that. Why Florida State did that. And they did it with those colors. And they talking about the blood sun, son, like with the Native American face on the meatball. Come on, man. What are they doing? So we talking about Khalifa, right? And like these are like the only images you'll see of Khalifa if you ask for the AI. I mean for the Google to look it up. But this is an Egyptian, and so I'm putting this up here just because it's still speaking to the same shit to me. And I can't tell what is older or older. I can only tell what exactly might be going on here. And so the key thing here is that it's subordinate. It's subordinate. These people are subordinate to this black woman, right? And so she got the lotus in her hand, right? And that means she ruled the world because the lotus is what Brahma called the world into being sitting on top of. It grew out of the navel of Vishnu. Right? So here it is where another example of Egyptian where they showing the woman giving obeisance and prostrating on the ground. That means she's subjecting her forces in like servitude in front of this alligator. All right. All right. So that alligator is the queen, is the rulership, is the monarch, the matriarch, the symbol for the ruler. This is after the insectoid, the beetle, the scarab beetle. Right. This is like on earth, this represent physical real kingdom. Right. And so these people is talking about royals and not necessarily, you know what I'm saying? Like it's anamorphic just because they, it's representations. It's representations. You know what I mean? So they all saying the same thing. They all saying the same thing. So watch how, since they all saying the same thing, watch how this shit go now. When you look at pictures of what is American, look at this. Isn't that interesting? And so the imagery, right? The imagery, she got the white headband on, right? They got her with the dark skin and red lips, man. The imagery with the alligators. Like they trying to mock people or something. And so he got on a headband here. That's what that is. Sticking out the back of his head. This concept of headbands, the white top, right? That's some concept over in Europe on the left. That's America, United States in the middle, and that's Aborigine Australia on the right. It is a black and white photo though, but I'm sure that's anyway. So when you look at old pictures of America, right, you do see images where they showing her as a black woman. And when you look over there in the back, you see that it's castles and cannonballs, cannons sticking out, right? It looked like they came. It's like the takeover. Man. That looked like Clarissa Shields, man. That looked like Clarissa Shields, man. That looked like Clarissa Shields. Don't that look like Clarissa Shields? Hold on, man. Let's zoom in on that. I might be tripping. That look like Clarissa Shields to me. I might be sleeping. I'm about to like this blunt a little bit. Let's see what's good. It look like Clarissa Shields on it. Damn. See how fast. Let's see if I can do it real quick. No, no, don't do it. I can do it. I can do it. She kind of look like Jasmine Crockett right there, yeah. John like her. Oh, that don't look like her. So, anyways, right? They'll show it, right? They'll show that much. They'll show that these white people was their slaves doing things for them. She like Grace Jones. You know what I mean? So why we see these images of Americans that look like they is even dressed different than so-called Native Americans? Why is there stories that don't even mention Native Americans as we know it, and they named the whole area of California after this story? They got nothing to do with so-called Native Americans. So how much sense that make, right? You go to any other concept of a state name, and it makes some type of sense, right? And so when we see images like this, that's more recent than those artworks, they too can have different meanings and stories behind them, other than what we know of, or maybe they could be rare truths that is lost in time or something. You know what I mean? Like to be put together. And so the Khalifa is the Kalima. It's the same, right? And so what you're talking about is maybe a business or a rulership, because a caliph or a caliphate was something that was Islamic post territory. And so a caliphate would be something that would have jurisdictional power over a certain region or territory. And so when they recorded saying they had just encountered the natives of this land, they called them Moors. Then they called them Indians. And then they called them Negroes. So, you know what I mean? So here go the concept of the skulls. We saw that. Here go the concept of Garuda in Southeast Asia on the right. And shit, that might even be in India for real on the right. And that's it over there in Peru on the left. And so what you got is an older version of the serpent attacking Garuda from the ancient Hindu Vedic, uh, theology. And so the Hindu Vedic theology is something that Jesus Christ was said to gone to travel for the missing 13 years of his life. And he came back with what he was saying, possibly with the whole knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, etc. You know what I mean? And so here it is, some German imagery on the right that shows the Star David, and it also shows him with the pirate earring. And so they're saying that these secret society members, right, these pirates, these people of the sea, and like these Moors, right, has got the Star of David associated with the other type, like some type of Hebrew Israelite type thing, right? Which, even though it was the original symbol for what we'll call Moors, and they changed it to a 5-point star later on when they started to do what they call Islamic. You see how so you see how the word Moors is supposed to insinuate Islamic, but it really is a word to cover up ancient Israelite. Because when you ever heard about ancient Israelites, right? So William S. Crowdy is the only person that was allowed to bring it up or that brought it up, and we remember it. I'm not gonna say he was allowed. He's probably a freedom fighter. You know what I'm saying? But he might have been speaking for himself. He might have been speaking, as a person that might have had came from Africa on a boat during a slave trade. And there is those people that live in the United States and live in America. You got some people that descend from the makers of these statues, right? Which would be called, like they call the statue El Negro. So this is El Negro before it was Negro land in Africa during the Spaniard slave trade, because remember, it was a Spaniard that wrote about the all black woman island of Khalifa, and it was Spain that was heavy on the slave trade, right? Heavy on the conquistadores and all that. And so these artifacts, these pictures of artifacts prove that there was melanated people here before Christopher Columbus story is introduced. And so with that being said, we know that there's a lot of other effects that was done to the people in this land they call the United States of America that is like scientifical, diabolical shit. And one of them is lying to us and then having the whole world want to be educated off being lied, off lying to us also, and benefit from not having to care. You know, that's crazy, right? It's like a machine made off people, and God said He gonna remember His people, and then God's kingdom is going to be the government, and everything gonna be just fine for those that are worthy. You know what I mean? And so, but it's very interesting. It's very interesting, man. It's very interesting. This is not what they teach in schools, and it's very unique, right? They don't want to talk about the AI. Don't even want to acknowledge this stuff. And so here it is. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that complex there. That is something that is like it's great. All of that is artificial mountains. All this is artificial mountains, man. Like this whole land is like situated. This is just awesome. It looked like something that is not even true. Like, do you understand when I say this whole mountaintop is like terraformed? And only God knows who's best to do something with it and not to choose those that are greedy for it and who are negative toward us as who are not worthy and such. It would be a joy of honor to be able to do something well for the world. And they must have had an idea that what they was doing was going to be like, a good idea. And so you got these two pyramids across from one another, like two pillars. And then you have this entrance here that take you up a level. And then you have it where You got this structure here where it looks like it has winding stairs that will take you up to another level. And then here you have a building, right? That must be how you get to the other level. And then once you're there, you would be walking across this way and then going up this steps to a whole nother level. And so what I'm saying is when I count all these levels, it looked like the same thing when we look at the Temple of Solomon, right? Where you have the three main spaces of the court, the holy place, and the holy of holies. The way these structures is built is like you have the court, the holy place, and the holy of holies. You see how this? So this whole ancient, I don't know what to call it. It's the whole area, the whole compound, the whole area is like a giant Solomon's temple. And so people will say that the pineal gland is what your people use for their third eye, and that's what they see with their mind or something like that, or it's intelligence and wisdom and things like that when it's open and conscious or whatever. But you see, it's the same thing that these ancient Americans have in their hand, and these people wasn't stealing or copying ideas from Sumeria back in the days when not everybody got transportation like that or television. It wouldn't be no reason for all that to even go happen. And so what you're seeing is the most consistent ancient thing in the world being the American, because they're the ones that their uh, artwork, even though it could be considered not as ancient as the Sumerians, is showing that the tradition is unbroken in their culture that stem back from the days of these Sumerian concepts being made independently, because they got unique other arts that isn't depicted in ancient artifacts the way we see. And so we'll see the truth in these American artifacts because they was drawing down and jotting down, copying down the truth as they, knew it from older traditions. And so America having the oldest version of traditions and symbolism makes sense to me, because when you look at Haiti and their so-called voodoo, which is associated a lot of times with West African systems, it's the exact fleur de lis that you would see from a European system. So what's more likely, that the African system of voodoo is being used to make the fleur de lis, or the Haitian system of voodoo is being used to make the fleur de lis? Because we got other examples. Here go the dollar symbol without the two lines directly on each other. It's still that. So that's supposed to be money. And so what this is a voodoo symbol that shows energy of a pyramidal structure emitting out from below upward. And so they're saying that there's associated energy with this symbol that mean money. They put the literal voodoo, and it's not that it's them, right? It's definitely them using that. Voodoo definitely got its originality to it, and voodoo not copying from nobody. And so here it is that voodoo is kept a current or concurrent version of something that was remembered in alchemy thousands of miles away in another country. Because I doubt that the people in alchemy went to go over to Haiti and learn voodoo, right? And so what you see in the rest of the world when they do the same shit, see, that's in India on the left. and that's in Haiti on the right. When you see that the people in India doing the same shit the people in Haiti doing, not the other way around, because Haiti is said to be the poorest country in this hemisphere. And they don't have methods of anything to like go and like they wouldn't go and copy some shit from India with no contact with them. Look at that. That's pretty intricate. That's like one of the hardest ones to do. That's interesting. But here, also wearing all white. You see the Haitians do it in their ceremonies, and you see the rest of the world do it. Here go the Haitian symbol. That's a 3D swastika, which is more complex and scientific than these swastikas found from the Nazis and from the Buddhists. It's 3D. It's three-dimensional. So here go a Haitian symbol on the left that depicts what the Africans show and what Europeans have shown about a vortex. The Europeans show this vortex, right? And then the Africans show this concept of which is really a map. There's heart-shaped maps that's out there. And so this represents the monkey in the middle, like I had showed y'all in the Beast Man, the monkey in the middle, the King Kong underground. And so we're gonna have to go to royalties real quick, man. Let's go to royalties real quick. What we gonna get a royalty? I don't know, man. I'm gonna check the chat though. No, man. I must have did. All right, so when it comes to the 8-point star associated with Ishtar, you see it amongst the Africans. The Africans. You see it amongst the Haitians. You see it amongst the Haitians. You see it amongst the Haitians, the Hawaiians, and the Japanese. It might be others, but right now we're talking about the connections with America because Khalifa is an American story. And when it comes to cooperation medals or those that work underneath this star, this would be like the top of the line. And so Khalifa would be representing another word for Ishtar. And so Ishtar is what you see here in the picture on the right. And so Ishtar would be the moon goddess. And that means that the government is really from the moon. And that's Uh, uh, that's pretty much this is the Moroccan flag, or was a Moroccan flag, but this is showing the 8 points, right? So this is associated with Islam, but Islam wasn't. Islam came later on, so it's a newer label put on old stuff. Did you know the pyramids had 8 sides to them? They sure do, just like I Ching. And so that means that each of the pyramids of Giza is like an I Ching machine. And so that's like 3 people. That's the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. How about that? You didn't think you was going to learn anything. There's 3 more at the bottom, but those are fractals. Here goes several representations of Ishtar. Notice the 8 pointed star on her head. The tarot card depicts Venus, who is also linked to Ishtar. The 8 pointed star is a symbol of Ishtar. So Venus, Ishtar, moon goddess, it's all feminine powers. And you know what I mean? That be the bottom line. And so could that crescent mean the island of Khalifa? It's possible. But here is ancient American swastikas showing that the concept of the dark mother spot of Nancy that the Africans speak of is the cosmos and the darkness of the cosmos and of nature. And everybody knew about it and celebrated that fact that Thai, African, and Papua New Guinea, they traditions and drums is so similar that you could see that there was an easy connection with these peoples being one, just in different parts of the neighborhood. And so the Mayans is what you see in the middle, and what you see on the left is Mongolian, and what you see on the right is Persian. And isn't that a very, very interesting connection? How something that's Mayan is made sense of in the Mongolians and down to the Persians. Isn't that interesting? It's like saying they all one people related. The people from Ecuador got an image that the Middle East has. And the Middle East spend most of their time getting told and showed off by the rest of the world as being the oldest civilization on earth. But I challenge that. And people like Neil deGrasse Tyson that talks about no such thing as sky jellies, I challenge him. And I'm sure that there's sky jellies, man. And so you know what I mean? I'm trying to get at that level. So maybe I needed to tell y'all to just take your own break and put it on pause. And don't worry about me. Because I'm gonna keep going. You know what I'm saying? So here it is. Where what is this telling us? It's telling us that the Father Crespi artifacts is worth believing in and trying to figure out. That's what it's saying. And so here go Africa on the right, and they go Mexico on the left. Everybody talking about these birds, that's a pattern. We can find patterns from the Americas match those of the Vinca over there in Bosnia and Ukraine areas. Near that Bosnian pyramid, this same statuette on the left is found, which looked like he got a fez on. And then on the right, you have this Peruvian situation where he got the red top on too, just like the Africans. The Africans got the same type of hat on. But anyways, here it is. Some type of discrepancy in patterns. I think this because they at war with each other. They both got severely different phenotypes and swag. You know what I'm saying? Native Americans look like somebody kicked their dumb ass in their ass. They kind of ugly for real, man. Them motherfuckers face all balled up and shit. But I'm just saying, man, God don't like ugly. The Aboriginal Americans had some people that was doing bad things too. They, what I mean? Not everybody is get a pass because they Aboriginal. But shit, everybody get thrown in the pot together if they is of the ops, man. And so the Boule, right? They used the symbol that represent Queen Khalifa. And so you would think because they a secret society that they would be like giving out a symbol or a code because they keep some shit clear dear to them. And so what is Queen Khalifa in the picture for the Boule Sigma Pi Phi fraternity? It's a lion and a eagle with a woman's head, and yeah, she got it. That's a griffin body. The griffin body, the griffin is what Queen Khalifa was said to have with her on her island. So Queen Khalifa and her griffins was like exclusive. Like you ain't get no griffins from nowhere except from that island. You know what I'm saying? And so I assume her Amazons had a bunch of them. And so when you see these Native Americans, who I'm saying is the ops, when you see them with their feathers, they really is saying they got griffin feathers. And that they was out here hunting Queen Khalifa and her griffins. You see that? You see that? And so that means the Polynesians is not the ops. They not killing the Griffins. They on the Griffins team. And so that's why when we get, what I mean? When the connection between the people in the Pacific Islands and the Americas, etc., is an Aboriginal one. It's an Aborigine one. And these people that got the black tip feathers, they ops, son. They straight up ops. They in cahoots with the devil. And so, you know what I'm saying? That's why they ain't got no business, no buildings. They just was on their ass and teepees. Like you don't just be on your ass and teepees for being here for 100,000 years. 100,000 years. If 100,000 years in the same spot equal on your ass and dirty and shit, you might as well just give it up as a people or some shit. That's not civilized. Right. And so there can only be one, right? I mean, look, let's go ahead and duplicate this, right? Go over to builds, go to making elemental LMN, go to make them. Well, that shit had to hit them. They got to hit somebody with them joints. Some shit's heavy hitters, boy, when they hit them. Man, what? Go to make. Got it. I mean, come on, man. We gotta, you know what I mean? Yeah, let's go ahead and put the blackbird on them real quick. Let's drop the blackbird on them, son. Blackbird, blackbird, blackbird. And this is gonna be proof there ain't no mistake. This is gonna be proof ain't no mistake once you talk about the blackbird. When you talk about the blackbird. No, we're gonna stay on this topic. I'm just saying. When we talk about that blackbird, with that blackbird now. Well, look, the blackbird is the blackbird is this. The blackbird is this and this and this. The blackbird is that, son. The blackbird is that. Yo, listen. I even got another one. Put this one down. Boom. What's that? That's the blackbird. What that mean? The blackbird. What the blackbird mean? The X-Men. Ask the X-Men. They know. What the fuck? The blackbird. Yo, look. All right. All right. Let's start here. So the concept of the griffin is found with the Boule, like the concept of Queen Khalifa is found with the Boule. She got a hoop earring too. I wonder if that got anything to do with the other hoop earrings that we see. And so the Grand Boule is, or the Grand Bull, right? They are claiming Khalifa information through their logo. Khalifa had a griffin. These Native Americans seem to have griffin hairs or griffin feathers, and they're not the same as the Polynesians, the Samoans, the Hawaiians, etc. And so they had, Hawaii was taken over because of racism and all that colonialism. And so what you see here is a war in Mexico on the right called Matamoros. And Matamoros means Moor killer. And Moors is what they call the original inhabitants, native aboriginals of the United States of American territory and the Americas, right? You know what I mean? Like they was calling them Moors before they used the word Indian, and then before they used the word Negro. So they was mislabeling them from the jump, right? Trying to dilute the connection to what we would consider ancient Israelite kingdoms, right? And basically, this is that war on all four corners of the world that they had conquered these fortified places built by other peoples. They had assumed roles established by others. You know what I mean? The ancient technique of this Hawaiian queen on the left predates the techniques found in Europe. And so that's basically what that's what that's saying. It's a redhead, just what it say. That the concept of redhead, man. Come on, let me tell y'all in case y'all ain't know. Let's go to make them. Do I gotta make them out over? Let's go back to make them. This show the Mayan artwork that would denote some type of craftiness dealing with certain peoples and their being, right? Say science. We all agree that science is used. They make movies all the time. So here it is. So that's that, right? So wait, no, wait. We still it's still one more piece of evidence that we could put there that would just connect it even more. What is it? It's so it seems that it's not there. So it just take 1 second more. All right. All right. So the black bird is what you see around. So they're talking about the same bird. So they're saying that the the people that made the totem pole, the ancient Egyptians, and this night art from Europe is talking about the same bird. They're talking about the same bird. All right. And so that bird symbolism goes back to when it wasn't even a bird. It goes back to when it was a beetle or a scarab beetle. And that is like more along the lines of a queen bee type thing because it's an insectoid that predate the reptilians. And through the intelligence of the giant mantis and the dealings with the ant people and things like that, you get the reptilians, the amphibians, the reptilians, and then stuff like that. You get the bird. The bird might have been independent. It might have been some contemporary with the insectoid or something like that. Regardless, you get those major facets of life form before humans, which is before humans as we know it. So regardless, right? It's the ancient. When you go back to the insectoids, the only thing older than that is talking about a plant or a tree or a bush or something like that. So the insectoids is pretty much the second oldest when it comes to features that is venerated, venerated. And so the veneration imagery of this insectoid is beetle wings predates the concept of the so-called bird, the blackbird, but it's the same. It represents the same thing for probably a couple of reasons. And so once again, you have the black spots on the white backdrop that is connected to the oceanic peoples of the Pacific Ocean and royals of Europe and Africa and Russia, right, and ancient America. And so it's a consistent thing. And so when you see uh, what you see on the right, you can say that, all right, that's the opposite. That's a purposeful, conscious opposite, right? Right. It's opposite of this. It's opposite of this. And so what does that mean? That means that there is probably warring factions. And so when it comes to the type of things that go on with people, as we can tell, regardless if you got race involved, a lot of warring factions do incredibly mean things to other factions. And so what you see here is a picture made in 1671 by a guy named Jay Morse, which is suspicious. And it's supposed to be of an incident in June 26, 1579, with a ceremony of Sir Francis Drake being crowned by a headdress by California Indians. Now, California Indians, right, is talking about black women on an island because 1579 is in the same span of time as the book or the account of Queen Khalifa was created. Computer, When was the story of Queen Khalifa first made?
The story of Queen Khalifa comes from a modern book called Queen Khalifa and the Empire of 11 by Warren Foster, published in 2025. It's a fascinating
Computer.
tale.
No, tell me about the first mention of her by that Spaniard in the 1500s. What was the exact date?
The first mention of Queen Khalifa, was in Garci Rodriguez de Montalvo's Las Sergas de Esplandian around 1510. Would you like to know more about Las Sergas de Esplandian and its author?
No.
Understood.
So they say about 60 years later. All right. And so here it is, Francis Drake being crowned by California Indians by what looked like a woman. She got breast, or she got some type of protrusion here, right? It looked like a stud, but it looked like a woman. And she crowned him. Why would she crown him? And then if you even take a closer look, you'll find out that this is the same guy that is given the credit for finding and naming this passage here called Drake's Passage over the Python Head of Ouroboros down below South America or above South America, depending on how you believe the maps go. And so I noticed that when the background, when they made all these warring faction parties on his side, they made a bunch of ghost looking creatures, a bunch of what was that supposed to be masks? Like these featureless, like they got masks on or something. They like the worms coming out of the ground in Australia. And so they look like this for real. Them people over there look terrified. Like, look, them people is terrified. They're like, oh shit. What's going on, son? They're putting their flag up, they're moving it like they got this reputation. So they still be wearing that shit, right? They still be wearing it. That's what they telling us. That shit is connected to the Ku Klux Klan, man. The Ku Klux Klan. And what can I say, man? I'm not gonna go like guess from here, but that's just treachery. Like who knows the treachery that followed this situation which they trying to identify as the crowning from a melanated person, the crowning of rulership to an island of black women. You see all these women, like a bunch of women. So the pillaging, the R wording that went on probably produced a lot of mestizo mulatto plants. Possibly. I don't know, man. So somehow it's connected to the downfall of the black man, right? Because that's where we're going to go ahead and connect this. How does this all make sense? So Jabulan is the name of the leader of the reptilians that Cradle Mutwa said came down and civilized their people. And so he said the name of them was the Maiti, which is basically the ancient Mayans that were depicted as grays. So Jabulan is also the name of the secret god of the Freemasons. It says in ceremonial rituals, Masons worship a deity called Jabulan. It's a composite of the deities Jehovah, Baal, and On. Baal was the ancient Canaanite god of human sacrifices, and On is another name for Osiris, the Egyptian god of life, death, resurrection. Hence, Freemasons and Christians worship a different god. All right, so whatever, right? It's we know it's a reptilian through the African lineage or storytelling. It's a reptilian who got his penis cut off. And then you see the Japanese celebrating a black penis being cut off in their ceremonies every year. Is those balls? They got the black penis and the balls. I never noticed that. And that's terrible. Because usually they'll try to make it look like a mushroom or some shit. But nah, they ain't gonna lie. They got a whole theme park where it's like a bunch of penises, penis effigies and shit. Like that, they nasty as hell. But that's racist, obviously. And it's connected to Jabulan because even though he's a reptilian, he still is considered black. Right. And so that's how, the world had black rulership and leadership consistently throughout ages up until a recent point, a more recent point in the timeline. So you got Europe on the left, the Mayan Americas in the middle, and Asian on the right. And so that's consistent throughout the timelines. We could look at it like this. They go America starting from the left, Asia, Africa, and Europe. So you got rulership involved. You see the black dots on the white background on the American picture. He's royalty with a fasces, the same things the Romans show in their thing. So this predating the Romans. But before we get to all of that, here it is they go an 8-point star. You see that? That's the 8-point star right there. The same star used by the Micmac. The Micmac is who got the same symbol for good as the Egyptians. All right. And so here you have it where here go India, right? Because we got pretty much all the corners of the world. They go India. You zoom into the top, it's too melanated. They do look green. But green and blue was melanated people anyways. Because they wasn't going to use a straight black unless they was drawn like Shiva or something. Krishna. Krishna, by the way, means black. So when they say Lord Krishna, they're saying Lord Black. And so here go all the other Gentile nations at the bottom. Right? So they go to Middle East. The Middle East, they're showing examples of dark-skinned people, black-skinned people, all the way up into when they was making these paintings. They was depicting people in those areas, right? And they dark-skinned. So then you got the Pacific Islands. To this day, they go a recent picture. He got blonde hair. He probably had straight blonde hair when he was young. They usually grow out of it when they're young. They got blonde hair all over, and then they grow out. They get older and they get darker. But here it is, where that's a guy. That's a recent picture, and then you got ancient depictions from their artifacts that show that they was even darker than that. And so here go red lips and blue eyes. And so that means that the black skin and red lips concept didn't even originate as a racist white supremacy caricature. It originated amongst people themselves who had practiced the act of chewing on cat, which made their mouth red. And they were Aboriginal because they had the features that take them back to the things we see over in America with blue eyes and blonde hair. And so here you have it on the right is an African person that's practicing the same traditions of having the hoops in their ears and having all these zigzag and marks on their face. And so, like I told you before about the drums, how they was all had similar drums. They got similar woodworks. When you see the African woodworks, they're pretty extensive and very, very highly complex and technical wood carvings come from Africa. But when you see also the Pacific Islands, you also see very good carvings from wood. It makes them look almost it's hard to, it's hard to not see the resemblance in the styles. And so looking at patterns, you have all these so-called Scandinavian countries using a sword as their flag. Their nation's logo is a sword, which is an offense. It's an offensive, warlike situation. And right below all of that, you have the northern parts of Africa, which would make sense to be where the most light skinned people are. The most mixed and mulattoes and all of that make up what you would call the Arab mixes of the Middle East and North Africa, because they are the ones on the front lines dealing with so called Europeans and mixing in with them. And so you see how this third party is created by the two sides coming together. And so this concept of the crescent star is coming from Asia, and it's swept all the way down throughout the Middle East, all the way to the ends of Africa, all the way to the Americas as a Carolina flag. So here is a map showing that the Japanese Empire presented this information in honor of their shogun of the Hosogawa clan. And in here, you see the Hosogawa clan is stationed in what we would call Australia. And so that means that Japan, or the concepts of samurais and Japanese things, have an Aboriginal Australian connection that is hidden from today. And so they're showing these territories that include territories in Africa, right? And we know that Africa has an Edo in Japan, in Nigeria, and we got an Edo in Japan as well. And all the Japanese language descend from African languages. And so in the meanwhile, you see red, white, and blue is used to depict America, and that's the sun. And so the land of the rising sun, they knew that that's what it was. Gorin Den Sokoto is over there where Shindoshi is, which is where probably California is today. And so it's interesting to see that Japan had thoughts about these territories. Now, here is a close up of it if y'all want to take a peek. But we're going to show another map that gives some stability to this map here, especially dealing with this part of the map. And so when we take this part of the map, we're going to go ahead and place it with this map. This is a map presented by Queen Empress Verdiasi of the Empire Washita de Dugdamania. And she said that her people came from Africa thousands of years ago and set up shop in the Americas and built the mounds. Now, what she set in motion is something that got people like Malachi York claiming to be a certain type of Indian and is recognized by the Grand Lodge of England. And so here it is where the national parks on the US map is shown mostly in that area that they call Gorindinskoso, Gorindinskosodo, whatever, this area. It's the most where the United National Maps, Parks maps show most national parks are out there. And so there's a lot of territory that people are kept away from that's in that area. And so we don't know exactly what's out there. It could be all type of monuments and things. And so to verify this map, because Vimpers Verdiasi is debunked as a grift mill or a college mill. I forgot what they call it, but they basically say she was just bluffing and all this and that. But her map does match this Japanese map. And so when we look at the other side, you got the original 13 colonies, and that shit matches the map as well. And so when you put them both together, these three maps coincide with one another, even though they come from different places in time and from different sources. And so they would be saying that somehow the people in the Americas was sandwiched between these two forces at one time or another, right? Which I assume is well after the original coastlines was beaten back. So Queen Khalifa being in California and all that territory was beaten back through who knows how many years of onslaught of war. By the time that they got this map that include Florida and all of this and that, this must be just the last bastion of them peoples, man, or something, right? It's the last of them, right? Because I don't think that there's much for me to say against this lineup. Like all we got to do is fill in the rest clues. Like they say that this is where the original 13 states was, and they give their dates, right? This is the flag at the time of England when they did this. So the Barnomonte map shows differently. Like the Barnomonte map shows establishments all throughout the Americas. And so let's see, 1492 is when Christopher Columbus came out, and the Barnomonte map came out in 1587. And so they said that 1787 is the earliest. Mhm. And they say that Delaware is supposed to be named after an Indian tribe, but if you read it, it's Delaware. That's of the war. Of day la the war. WAR. Delaware. Delaware. So, anyways, that's 1787. And so that's crazy. Like, that's crazy. That's like in no time. That don't even make sense. That makes sense when then 1787, then it's about to be 1800s. And then 1865, slavery ended. That don't make no damn sense. Oh, these are dates of Confederacy. I don't even fucking know what I'm looking at. Like 1700s. It just don't make sense. If the people established Plymouth Rock, computer, when was Plymouth Rock established?
Plymouth Rock's significance was first established in 1741 when Thomas Faunce identified it as the Pilgrim's Landing site.
That don't make sense to me. 1780s is Plymouth Rock. Computer, when was the first Pilgrim colonial establishment in the United States?
The first Pilgrim colonial establishment was Plymouth Colony, founded in 1620.
And what was before that?
Jamestown Colony was established in 1607, 13 years before Plymouth Colony.
And what was the first colony established before that made?
The first English colony was Roanoke, established in 1585 on Roanoke Island, but it mysteriously disappeared by 1590.
So the grip on the world, the Aboriginal grip on the world was loosened. This narrative, this false narrative, or this narrative of American Indian tribes was established. The memory of the buildings and the established things before them was forgotten. Oh no, man. They is out here cosplaying, role playing, and they is adversary to Black history by nature. By nature. So they mark up the lands with borders and they say that there's District of Columbia, the Columbia River, and the country Columbia, where you can't not go through once you go through Central America. And so Columbia is very important land, taking the fact it's the only way one could travel on land through to Central America. You couldn't have a better fortified situation going on than that. And so the District of Columbia and the Columbia River is on two opposite ends of the land. And so it's basically a triangulation between these Columbias. And that is by a method, by invading method, to rename lands. Because here go Negro land in Africa, but Negroes was the third label for Aboriginal Americans. So here go the Hindus and here go the Native Americans with their cosmology symbolism. The turtle on the back of a turtle, right? And so I don't know what Native Americans remember some shit from back in the day, or they passed down that information, but maybe they had it before the Hindus got it. The Hindus is way more complete, more scientific. But if you see this in layers, you'll see it. It's like the same thing. So let's look at it. Chief Powhatan, father of Pocahontas. These are the pictures of him. John Smith's description was a man with some 200 more as black as himself. So he had with some 200 more like with him as his personal, what they call it, personal group. And that's how that goes. Like, what was they doing? They called these people Moors, then they called them Indians, then they called them Negroes or black. So this is literally like saying you had Aboriginals in the lands before the African slave trade that was dark skinned. And so check this out. You see how they got these dark skinned Indians. They got these dark skinned Indians. You know what I'm saying? With these buildings and everything, right? So that's consistent. Now, when they talk about America, it seemed like they is trying to offend the land when they say they made their first landing in Virginia. Virginia is a word that's associated with Virginia and virginity. And so when they're saying that they landed on Virginia, they're saying that they saying themselves as a phallus symbol or F wording the land, right? Like their presence is like the presence of a rape, or they rape the land. And so you got it where if the griffins represent Queen Khalifa, and you see griffins in Persia, and Persia predate the Sumerians, then you would see that this is the extent of the rulership from America. And so we done already matched up those ears and proved that. And so when you look at Peter Griffin from Family Guy, he's shaped like a penis. His head is shaped like a penis, and his balls is shaped like testicles. And so he represent like a dick head or a penis shaped symbol, and his name is Peter, which is another reference name used for penis. And so also his last name is Griffith. And so Griffith is like the word Griffin. And so if he's Peter Griffin, then he is dicking or fucking the Griffiths of Queen Khalifa, which is an assault on the land, which is, also supplementing the Virginia colony concept altogether, right? He's keeping it going, right? Where you have the land called Maryland. And so, you know what I'm saying? They using all of these feminization terms for a land like California. And California sounds like fornication of Cali. But California was supposed to be where Amazons were, right? And it could be a word that they didn't use for themselves, right? And so when you see the color code that you have for this mysterious black woman and the Dahomey tribe in Africa, it do resemble the color codes you find for Aboriginal natives of the land and their swag, or at least their depictions of them. And so that again is another woman that's representing America. And so that's Queen Khalifa with the reptilian, right? Nowadays, the same area of the Powhatan, the same people, those people is conquered by a sword and the Oriental crescent and star. So it's like the Tibetan thing you see on the left, I mean, on the right, is the same thing you see on the Chinese flag. It's the same thing you see on the Carolina flag, put there by people who had resituated the lands through conquer, right, through colonialism. And so the Micmac flag in the middle also represent colonialism. It represent the blood sword and the two sides, right, that is on either side of the map here. The two sides on either side of this map, you see, the crescent and the star. On either side of this area called the Empire of Washita de Dugdamalion, which is, it's a thing, man. So let's go ahead. And from there, you have this concept of crescent and star always used. But what is it used for? They is worshiping still the concept of Ishtar and her island, because that's, I'm beginning to think that's the crescent and moon originally. It's the island of California and the land of the rising sun. And so if Kali Ma represent the dragon or the shape-shifting goddess of the Hawaiians that could turn into a giant lizard, then China is also representing America by saying they see the land of the rising sun. Like Japan calling themselves Konnichiwa and the land of the rising sun and shit. So they go China with the red blood sun, right? And so all of these places are situated that way, right? The crescent is the island of California, and the star is whoever Ishtar chooses, so to speak, right? Like the people and all the directions on the earth. You know what I mean? The compass. So here you have is this a Micmac? This is the Micmac 8-point star. This is their compass. And that's the same star as Ishtar, the 8-point star. That goes back to probably before these people, but mostly known by the Sumerians due to their religion, calling on her as Ishtar, etc. It eventually became Easter and Esther, and get all biblically. But here you have the Phoenicians, and you can see the hairstyles by these Americans is still reminiscent of the tradition that was around during the time that they made this statue of Phoenicians, right? Then you got the concept of the griffin also here with the Phoenicians. So that tells you that that's America. That's the same thing that is on the Boule symbol. That's that's a really good piece. That's a griffin, man. That's the same thing that the Boule is showing. And so That's Khalifa. And so America also got the oldest versions of these lions that you see all over the world. And so the Mississippi mound builders created this lion, and you see the same thing in China. What did I say? When it's more pretty and beautified, it's newer than the raw version of it. And so it is where the griffin is depicted just like the griffins. Well, pretty much, even though griffins are depicted differently, they are a lot of them is depicted black and white with black tips on their feathers. And so, in this movie, in this story of Griffin of Harry Potter, you've got Gryffindor, and it's like saying it's a Griffin door, right? Like a door to the Griffins. And look at the color code to it. That is the same color code used by the Florida State Indians, Seminoles, or was used. So the concept of the lions you see all over the place, right? And so it represents strength, but it's really everywhere. And I'm saying that this tradition of using that symbol is an old one. And it's banned across the world. They go to American, they go to Etruscan, they go to Greek. So before the Etruscans, before the Greeks, you got the Americans, and that's before pretty much any and everybody. And how are they depicted? They are always side by side with people of color. We know there's a lot of lions in Africa, and there's said to be lions in America. There's big cats in both places. And these hairy white people just never liked them. And so whenever you saw a black lion, that represent a black man or a black king. And so this is another version of blackface. When you see a black lion or a black dragon or a black bird, right? But these colors here, we could easily trace these back to meaning black rulership with these art pieces depicting coat of arms using these colors. And I understand they could just be using those colors. Yes, yes, yes. But they wouldn't be using those colors and not mean them. And I'm going to show you why. Here are two individual pictures showing that these color codes is going to be a theme for the next following pictures. What you see there is a castle and a lion. And both of those represent a family and a black family of rulers, right? And we're going to follow the color code because it expands so far in the world. It's clear that they're the same people. So the Wheel of Joy in Tibet is also the color code used for both Haiti and Germany. And Germany got the black bird. Haiti has the lions and the phoenix. But what's that at the bottom left? That is an Aborigine Australian flag. And so that man in the iron mask, whose identity is hidden, is the Aboriginal man, descendant from Pangeans. And the color code is what we could use to pinpoint the connectivity. That Tibetan Buddha statue to the left and that Haitian commander to the right, and that I guess, indigenous Indian. He looked like he could be from the Pacific, Southeast Asia, or the Amazon. So they got a memory. They know what they're doing. Now, what is they doing on the right? If I was wrong, then why does the one on the right prove me right? The color code is the red lips, the black skin, and the gold crown. And they done turned that into like almost like a meme. And they're trying to joke it. You see? They pretend, they act like it's cool to say they eating black people. And they make sure to use those colors to represent that black kingdom or that black stronghold, that gold, that red, and that black put together. And so you can see it that even China had used this color code to represent its kingdom, right? But really, we could tell that they just perpetuating a style that was already established by original rulers because they was always depicted with those three colors: gold, black, and red. And so that represent for the black hole sun and the blood sun. So yes, Mickey Mouse do represent a sellout black man. Mickey Mouse is Uncle Ruckus. And Mickey Mouse is Uncle Ruckus. Hold on a second, man. I'm trying to find this real quick. If it ain't in here, we're gonna keep it moving. We're gonna keep it moving. So yeah, that's a sellout, man, with the mask on. The mask is a white mask, and we do need that shit though. Let's go ahead to Cosmic order. That's it, man. I think this is one of the most complete already. It's pretty good.